Hello everybody, AJ Ryzik here. Today we are taking a look at Linux Mint 18.1, the KDE version. Now, I have looked at the KDE version of Linux Mint in the past, but it has been a while. The last time was version 17.3. That was back when we were still running KDE version 4. I think 4.12, 4.13, I can't remember exactly which. Anyway, we are now running KDE version 5.8, so we're using the new style KDE. And for the most part, what I've been seeing while I've been testing this, it runs really, really well. I've run into a couple of issues with this distribution, but not a major amount of issues. And I'll kind of talk about those as I go through here. Really, I think this is a really good KDE distribution. Linux Mint has always been very good at creating a distribution that is ready to go right out of the box, and I think that they've pretty much done that with this KDE version. Although, kind of having said that, the KDE version of Linux Mint always seems to be, it's almost like the redheaded stepchild of the family. It doesn't get a whole lot of love, not a whole lot of support and whatnot. I mean, they build a fine distribution, but it seems like it's almost an afterthought. So that's part of the reason I wanted to review this the KDE version here. Also, I had a bunch of requests, or hey, can you take a look at it? There's not a whole lot of people that have reviewed this out there, so that's what we're doing today. And I'm going to try to set this review up so that we talk a little bit about things that new users would be interested in, and then as well talk about stuff that might be of interest to the more experienced Linux users out there. Hey, what's new? That sort of thing. So let's start. Let me drag over Firefox here. If you are new to Linux Mint and you want to download a copy, give it a try, here is their homepage, linuxmint.com. Just go to where it says downloads, and then we'll come down to Linux Mint 18.1. And then from here, just pick which desktop version that you want and whether you want 32 or 64-bit. So here we are in KDE. We're running 64-bit. And, just pick the link which is closest to you. As you can see here in the US, we've got quite a few mirrors where we can download from. Other countries aren't quite so lucky. And, basically just go through the list, find what seems closest to you, and download from there. But any of them you're going to be able to download from. It's just that the closer it is to you, the faster it's going to download. And if you're into torrents, you can download via torrents as well. I'm not going to go into all the details about how to do that, kind of beyond the scope of this video. But like I said, if you do torrents, you have that option of downloading that way as well. And while we're here, there is Linux Mint documentation on their homepage. So if you go to downloads and just kind of scroll on over to the side here, you can see where it says documentation. Unfortunately, kind of going back to what I said about KDE not feeling a whole lot of love, if you come down here to where it lists the documentation for KDE editions, Portuguese and German are the only languages available for the current version of Linux Mint KDE. So like I said, it almost feels like the forgotten version, I guess. Get rid of that there. So anyway, let's take a look at the desktop here. And well, before I go into the details about the desktop, you can see I've got this little welcome screen up. It's set up so that by default it will pop up every time you start up your computer. You can go and uncheck this box right here so it won't pop up. But I think it's pretty useful for not just new users, but anybody that's new to Linux Mint. You can see you've got links here to the new features, documentation, applications, so if you want to add extra software, that sort of thing. Proprietary drivers, if you need to go and add that. And then forum links, chat room, how to get involved with the development of Linux Mint, and then if you want to donate to the project. As far as the desktop setup is concerned, you can see we've got a single panel across the bottom, and by default they've got the standard KDE menu here. You can search by application. You can go under here to computer, where you can go to your home folder, networks, all that kind of stuff, history of stuff that you've been running, and then you can this leave option gives you the log out, log in, reboot, shut down, all that kind of stuff. And then you can also set up favorites in this menu. Now, if you do not want to run that particular KDE menu, you have the option of switching. If you just hover over that icon on the bottom and right click and go to alternates, you can switch to the application dashboard, which is a full screen launcher. So there you see it's kind of full screen here, and you can still do a keyboard search. So like they say for example, Libre Office Writer, just start typing in Writer, and you can see you got options there. And you can go through via categories, recent application, recent documents, graphics, so on and so forth. Besides the full screen launcher, you can go down to this application menu, which is my personal preference, and you still got all the options of the traditional KDE menu, but it's more compact. So let me click on that there. You can see much more compact. Everything is still there, but like I said, a lot more compact, use up less space. You can still do the keyboard search, so once again, looking for LibreOffice Writer, just start typing away. You can search that way. And then you got little icons here for your web browser, system settings, file manager, off, on, all that kind of stuff. So anyway, we've got, there's our menu, and then we've got our task manager showing all of the different applications that I've got open right now. And then continuing on over to the right hand side, this little red dot here is from Simple Screen Recorder, which is what I'm recording this video with. And then right next to that, we've got the little icon for our update manager, which I will talk more about later. And then our instant messaging, our networking options, our clipboard manager, our audio volume, and then we've got some hidden icons. If you go and click on that, you can see the different icons that we've got hidden right now. And then right next to that, we've got our date/calendar. So if you click on it, it will show you a calendar, and if you can scroll through the months, and if you just hit this little calendar button in the beginning or in the middle, it'll take you right back to today's date. Great looking wallpapers is something that Linux Mint has traditionally done well. They've added some more wallpapers recently. If you want to go and change those, just go and right click on your desktop, go to configure desktop. You can see all the different options that you got here. Just go and pick one, whatever looks good to you, and then click apply, and then OK. Of course, you still have the option that if you want to go to a solid background color, or you can go and download new wallpapers, or you can, if you got something in your picture file you want to open that, you can use that as well. But like I said, they traditionally had really nice wallpapers, and these new ones that they've added, they're definitely no exception. So let's move on to talking about updates. Go here and we will open up the update manager, and you can right click that and go to update manager. You could also go and search through the menu, find it that way as well. As you can see, I'm all up to date. I did an update right before I started this video, so I'm not going to have anything to show you there, but this is your update manager. Let me click refresh. It will go and search the repositories to make sure that I am up to date on everything, and anything that needed to be updated, it would be listed right here, and then you can pick and choose what you want to update. Now here's one of the really cool features about Linux Mint, something that is done very well, and it'll ask you, do you want to switch to a local mirror? So a local copy of the Linux Mint repositories. Um, if there is a repository that is closer to you than the official repositories, then you'll get faster download speeds. You can update faster, that sort of thing. So if you wanted to do that, you just click this OK. It'll ask you for your password, and then here's, you can see the mirrors that I'm using. For the main mirror, I'm using the official mirror, and then the base, which is based on Ubuntu 16.04. For the base, I am using a more local mirror. But let's just say that we wanted to see if there are any other options for the main mirror. Click on that, and it'll do a speed test on all these different known mirrors of Linux Mint's uh, official repositories, and it'll find what's the fastest for you. You pick the fastest one, click apply, boom, you're good to go. It switches to that mirror for you. So you just say Linux Mint right there, click apply, boom. That was the one I was using already, but you get the idea. Same thing down here with the base, and like I said, you're good to go. Very easy, and like I said, speeds up your definitely speeds up your downloads for updates. Now, Linux kernel, by default you are using kernel 4.4. However, you do have an option to upgrade to a newer kernel, and it is very easy to do that on Linux Mint. If you come up here to view, and it'll say Linux kernels, let's go to that. Generally it lags a little bit when it's loading this up. There it goes. And you get this little warning about, hey, be careful when you're switching kernels, you may screw something up. But anyway, move on, and here's a list of all the 4.4 kernels that are available, and here's a list of all the 4.8 kernels that are available. So if you want to install one, just go and click on it, click install, and it'll ask if you're sure, do you want to do this? Click yes, and boom, it installs. Reboot your computer, you're using that new kernel. For most people, you probably won't have a need to change kernels, but the option is there. Maybe you got a new piece of hardware, that sort of thing. There are reasons for upgrading kernel, but 99.9% of the people out there, you're not going to see a difference between the 4.4 and the 4.8 kernel. So let's talk a little bit about software. Just like other versions of Linux Mint, we've got a full suite of software that's installed. Basically, just about every need that the average user is going to want has been covered. Now, having said that, there's a couple of choices that I don't particularly agree with because they are not new user friendly. Linux Mint, since it is always touted as this is the new users distribution, they're really catered to new users having that ready to go out of the box experience. There's a couple pieces of software that I think other options will be better, but just kind of my opinion on that. But let's just do a quick walkthrough of the software. I'm not going to go into huge details on most of them, just a few things I want to point out. So under graphics, Digicam. Digicam is an awesome photo, I guess photo manager is the best way to put it. You can do a lot of photo editing there, but it's also there for managing the photos. It has quite a bit of a learning curve to it, so it is an awesome program. I used it in the past. When it comes to editing your or not videos, but editing pictures, awesome application. However, like I said, very steep learning curve. I think that especially for the average photo user, just the hobbyist, the casual taking pictures, that sort of thing, there are a lot better options out there for you. Of course, they've got the Gimp, which is probably one of the best image editors out there. Excellent application there. Under Internet, Firefox, Excellent application there. Here's another one that I do not agree with, is that they went with Kmail, which is the KDE email program. It is an excellent program, but it is by no means new user friendly. It is not experienced user friendly. It is a very steep learning curve. It's a great program once you get it all set up and configured the way that you want it, but there is so many options there that it can be overwhelming for a lot of people. Me personally, even when I am on a KDE distributions, I typically install Thunderbird. I think it's one of the best email programs out there, as far as that great balance of having plenty of features but still being fairly user friendly. Under multimedia, Amarok, excellent audio player. Dragon Player is a great video player. They also have VLC available. Um, both of them are good. Both Dragon and VLC are good players. VLC, traditionally, I've considered that to be the go-to uh, uh, video player, but at least recently the development has seemed to be lagging. Not that it's a bad player now, it still is, but I think there's other players that are starting to catch up with it. Um, and here's something that I wanted to talk a little bit about is GUC View, which is a webcam uh, viewer and recorder, and also Komoso. Neither one were installed by default. I installed both of them from the Software Center. Unfortunately, I could get neither to work the way that I wanted to. Now, up here in the top of the screen, what you see here is the viewer for GUVC View. That part is working just fine. I could not get it to record video for me though, and I'm not sure what was going on with that. Um, I've been running GUVC View on Ubuntu. I've been running it on Solus and other distributions. Everything was working just fine. This is a fairly recent version of GUC View, so I don't know what the issue was, but it just would not record on the system. Now, for what you're seeing here, you're just looking at the little view screen for the application, which it does function for what I need. However, I like recording the webcam as a separate stream. It gives me more options when it comes time to edit my video. Unfortunately, recording it this way, it does not give me those options. But so, like I said, I'm not sure what the issue was there, but it would not work like it should. So anyway, so we talked a little bit about that. Simple screen recorder, I added that as well. It's my go-to program for recording all of my desktop videos. Great application. Under Office, they have the entire Libre Office suite. Um, and then from that point on, it's just like system settings and that sort of thing. So like I said, there's a few things that are different from other versions of Linux Mint, just because you're running KDE, but not a whole lot of things. One thing I will, just kind of give a shout out on is with KDE, you have the Dolphin file manager, which I think is quite probably the best, uh, at least the best file manager by default of any distribution. Um, you've got tons of options for how you want to view everything. You can do a split screen so that you can move things from one folder to the other and be viewing both folders at the same time. Just tons and tons of options of how you want to view things and do things and all that kind of stuff. Love Dolphin for a file manager. KDE is in no way a lightweight desktop environment, but on the plus side, they have made some advances recently with making things more energy efficient and memory efficient and CPU efficient, that sort of thing. So let me drag over the system monitor here just so you can see what we got going on. Okay, so you can see, and you can see where on looking at my CPU monitor here where it kind of jumped up right there. That's when I kicked on the screen recorder. So you can see that screen recording is it's somewhat both CPU and memory intensive. Same thing down here where you can see this little blip in the scale here. That's when I turn the screen recorder on. So running my screen recorder and then all this other stuff that I got running, I'm running about 1.6 gigs of RAM as far as RAM usage. And you can see my CPU usage not too intensive there. And I'm sitting on a system with an 8-core processor and 16 gigs of RAM. So, this isn't necessarily a system that, if you're on a little netbook with 2 gigs of RAM, you probably wouldn't want to run it there. But, if you got a fairly modern computer and a decent processor, you're probably in good shape with this. Like I said, they've made some strides recently that has made KDE more fuel efficient, I guess is the bottom line. So kudos to the development team on that. So now that we talked about that, as far as how well has everything worked, all that kind of stuff, things have been running pretty good for me. I pointed out the webcam issue. Really, that's been the only issue that I have run into. Everything else has seemed to work the way that it should for me. So no issues there. KDE seems to be more snappy, more responsive than it used to, so I'm pretty happy with that. What else? Oh, let me just I'll real quickly go over other updates and changes, stuff that I may not have covered yet. We talked about the kernel. As far as the KDE Plasma version, the previous version of Linux Mint KDE, which was version 18.0, they were using Plasma 5.6 there. We are now using 5.8. Now, as far as, well, what does that bring to the table? Number one for me was multi-screen support. KDE, since the Plasma 5 series has come out, I have battled with multi-screen support on KDE. It would seem like I would log out, and then when I'd log back in, however I'd set my screens up, because I use multiple monitors. However I had set it up, it was no longer the same, and sometimes one monitor just would not log in, and I would have to reboot or log out and log back in to get that monitor back. All kinds of issues with that. The multi-screen support, while I've been using this distribution, has been perfect. So it looks like KDE has finally worked through the multi-screen issue that plagued them, like I said, since the beginning of KDE Series 5. And if I remember right, that was actually sort of an upstream issue coming from the Qt version, and now that they're on a newer version of Qt, they were able to fix that issue. At least that's my understanding of what was happening. Anyway, whatever fixed it, I am happy that they did it, because that was a major pain for me and was one of the reasons that I, at least for a while, why I quit using KDE, at least in the Series 5. So anyway, there's been that. There have been some new updates to the Plasma artwork. There's a new login screen when you go and log in. Because I'm running the screen recorder, I really can't show you that right now. But there's a new login screen. There is now right to left language support. So if you're using one of the languages that you need to read the opposite of all of us that do English and French and the Western European languages, there's now support for that. There have been improvements to several of the applets for make them faster, more energy efficient. We kind of already talked about that, but focusing on the applets there, and tons of bug fixes, and that was kind of a big one with some of the previous versions of KDE 5 series. They were just, hey, it was a new version of Plasma, and there were lots of bugs, a lot of stuff to work through. Um, and I think that pretty much covers all the the new stuff. You know, most of the new stuff came down to that new plasma and all the bug fixing and all that kind of stuff. Linux Mint, they have continued to update the versions of the software that's available through the repositories. Generally, you don't have the very latest version of a particular piece of software. Generally, though, it is one of the most recent stable versions. So, like in the case of LibreOffice, let me just. Oh well, I got LibreOffice running over here with my notes on it. Let me just take a look. Uh, okay, so LibreOffice. Yeah, wow, can't talk now. The LibreOffice version is on 5.1.6.2. The most recent version of LibreOffice is 5.3. But have running 5.3 on my Solus distribution, I will tell you that it just came out, so there's a little bit bug fixing still needed with that latest version. Like I said, what we have here, it is one of the more recent stable versions. So, and that's, I think, what you'll see throughout Linux Mint is that you are not using the bleeding edge of that particular software application, but you are using generally maybe not the most recent, but one of the most recent versions or most recent stable versions. Well, that pretty much finishes everything up that I want to cover in this video. Hopefully you found it useful. As always, questions, comments, all that kind of stuff, leave it down below. I'll try to get to it as soon as possible. And I've had a few requests for some Linux Mint videos, some how-tos, that sort of thing. So I will probably be doing some of those in the future. I've had a few requests for taking a look at the XFCE version of Linux Mint 18.1, so I will probably be doing that soon as well. But once again, if you got video requests, that sort of thing, leave them down in the comments section, and hopefully I can get to them. Limited schedule, but I try to get to them if at all possible. But as always, thanks a lot for watching, and I hope to see you all on my next video.